Yes, I am in Salem, New Hampshire, at a mall at midnight, charging my car. It was dangerously low. Yeah, 11%. It told me to basically find. So I'm just going to talk for a second until a cop or security guard comes up and tells me to leave. I'm not a paying customer. Let's turn off. Come on, can you off? There we go. Okay, so we're still charging. Um, have a nice little lights there that light up, which is pretty cool. So, just gonna kind of talk at you guys for a few minutes while this kind of moves across the screen. Here we go. This morning I got up. I drove to Manchester Airport because I was going to a training session in our Detroit office. The flight was going to leave at like 1:30, and then around 4, after 3 delays. And by the way, we're having awful weather. The whole eastern, from Philadelphia all the way up to Maine, terrible weather. So, due to the weather, they finally decided to cancel our flight. So I got a notification from United that they put me onto a flight out of Boston if I want it. It's a 55-mile drive. Now, when I got this notification, I had charged up the car to 94%, which is the maximum it'll charge with a 50 kilowatt hour charger, and so I had enough. Basically, by the time I left Manchester Airport, I had about 78 or 80% battery. I got to Boston and was at like 40% battery, and then I wanted to get back to Bedford, New Hampshire to charge at the Whole Foods there, but it was 60 miles away. So I'm like, well, there's got to be a 50 kilowatt hour charger that's on the way up. Oh, I'm skipping ahead a lot. Sorry. Can you guys even see me? There we go. I'll step out for a second. It's a little bit, people are going to look at me. There we go. It should help it charge a bit faster with me hitting the power button there. Okay, so I drove to Boston. Yeah, why is it midnight and I'm still in New Hampshire? I drove to Boston Airport. Flight was going to leave at 4 o'clock. I got there at 3:45. I didn't have any check the luggage because the training session was tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the Detroit office, and I had a 7 p.m. flight back from Detroit to Manchester, New Hampshire. So basically, more time driving and flying than actually in the conference. That's kind of how this kind of stuff works. And so I got to Boston, made it to the flight on time. As soon as I got through security, TSA pre-check, of course, I got a notification from United saying the flight was delayed. I sat on the actual airplane, like on the plane, at the tarmac until from 4:30 p.m. we finally boarded to 6:30 p.m. So 2 hours. Got into so instead of flying to Detroit, I had this flight took me through EWR, Newark. Got to Newark an hour later, and is the wind noise too bad? Got to Newark an hour later, and then when we were sitting on the runway, again, we can't go back to Boston. We're sitting on the runway in Boston, and I'm getting these notifications about the flight that United gave me, and gave me first class seat, thanks United, that United gave me kept being pushed back and back and back again because of all this crazy weather. So finally, it was going to show that flight would leave EWR at 12:45 a.m. and get into Detroit at 2 a.m. or no, 2:45 a.m. I was going to be exhausted, right? And I told Heather, we were still on the runway in Boston. I'm like, this flight's going to get canceled before I even get there. As soon as I touched down in Newark, the flight was canceled. So now I'm in Newark. I initially go to the service desk and I say, hey, I just like a hotel voucher for the night. And while she was doing the math, I'm like, when does the next flight leave here to, because when I landed, they had rebooked me on a flight at like 10 a.m. From Newark to Detroit. You guys still with me? And I said, when is can I get an earlier flight? She's like, no. I said, well, I'm going to miss the whole train tomorrow. I'm going to get into Detroit at like at noon and then have to leave Detroit. Crazy noises going on. Leave Detroit at 7 p.m. to come back home. And I'd be flying back into Manchester. My car is in Boston. And get this, I was stoked to go to Boston because even though they charge you by the hour for parking, they give you EV charging stations. This is a 20 kilowatt charger, but still better than nothing, right? It would have meant that even though my car was at 40% battery, it would have meant that oh, this is like a scene of a saw. I feel like the little snakes would come up and stab you with a needle. It's the beauty of being an EV owner. I was excited because I would have gotten back to Boston with a fully charged Hyundai to get me back home. Well, the charger didn't work in Boston. It said fault, wiring fault. Call this number. So I called the number. He tried to manually start it, wouldn't start. So my Ioniq was in Boston Airport being charged by the hour for there with 40% battery, and I was stuck in Newark, and I was going to fly to Detroit and then fly back the next day to Manchester, New Hampshire. And then somehow get back to Boston, hop in my depleted Hyundai, and try to get home. And by the way, my return flight into New Hampshire would have put me there at 11 p.m. So it would have been Heather coming to Manchester, New Hampshire, which is an hour and a half south of us, and then driving me to Boston to pick up my car, to come back, probably to here, to charge it tomorrow night. So I told her, you know what? Is there a flight tonight going back to Boston? And she's like, yeah, it leaves. Well, it's scheduled to leave now, but it's pushed back an hour. And I said, you know what? Put me on that flight. Cancel the hotel reservation or the hotel voucher. Cancel the flight in the morning. Cancel my flight from Detroit back to Manchester tomorrow. Give me a travel voucher, a credit to reuse again for the $500 I spent for this one-day flight. And I will go back to Boston. I got back to Boston. Of course, the machine to pay for my car to park didn't work, so I had to pay cash at the checkout area. There's high winds, talking about 40-mile-an-hour winds. The headlights on the Ioniq, the base model Ioniq, suck. My Golf R has bi-xenons. Heather's Golf Sportwagon has bi-xenons. And my BMWs have LED headlights. Crazy wind, guys. Look at these signs. This is like a hurricane. Florida hurricane shit. So, basically, I get in my car. It's almost dead. I do the closest 50 kilowatt hour charging station. By the way, we're only 29%. That's within driving distance on the way home, which is this Rockingham Mall, I think is where we are. And I said, let's go there. And on the way home, there's shit flying everywhere. There's leaves over the road. The headlights suck. The windshield wipers on. So it's not. So here's the thing: $33,000 car, halogen headlights, which are highly inefficient, by the way, for electric car, and no rain sensing wipers. So I can't see shit. And I'm having to constantly modulate the electrical wipers. And also, if I turned on the defroster or the recirculation AC, guess what would happen? The battery would have died because I pulled up here with 9 miles left. And when I turn the AC on, it always drops my range by 15 miles every single time, no matter what. So I wouldn't have made it here. So I have my windows all cracked with these 40-mile-an-hour crosswind gusts throwing wind into the wind and rain into the car. All because I can't turn on the defroster because I would have depleted my battery, and I can't see, and it's insanity. And so I made it here with foggy windshield and no visibility. It was very scary. I'm not used to having so shitty of headlights, especially on a car that costs over 30 grand, with only 136 miles of range. And so now it's 1 a.m. and I'm in a parking garage in New Hampshire, and I'm actually not even sure that this charge will get me home. They need to stop in New London, New Hampshire at their level 2 charge, which is 20 kilowatt hours, for an extra hour to recharge, just to get home tonight and then go to work tomorrow morning. So, like I told you guys in the past videos, I'm going to document the experience of owning a Hyundai Ioniq with only 136 miles range, which when you use a 50 kilowatt charger only gives you 120 mile range because it will not allow you to charge more than 94% for a lot of reasons. It's lithium ion technology. It's very basic stuff, but that's the reality of this car. And so every 100, and if you're running the AC and you're running the heated seats, so the defroster, and your headlights and your wiper, every 100 miles, you're going to need to seriously like be at a charging station. Not look for one, but you need to know at mile 75 that you're going to need to go to a charging station. And if it's only a level 2 charging station at 20 kilowatt hours, you're going to be there for 4 hours to continue your journey. If you can find a 50 kilowatt hour station or a 100 kilowatt hour station, congratulations, but they're pretty rare in New England. There are none within 40 miles of me in New Hampshire. So this is not a good road trip car. This is not a good driving in the dark car. It's not a good driving in the rain car. This is not a good car for kids that want to plug all their shit into the USB ports and drain their battery and like, Mom, I'm cold, can you turn the heat on? No, I can't turn the heat on. You're not going to get there in time. I have to stop for 8 hours. 17 minutes remaining. I'm going to check some emails. I'm actually not mad. I'm not pissed off at all. The car is fantastic for commuting to and from work from my house. It is not the car that I need for these kind of trips, which means that I'll need to put my Ford Escape back into winter. I was hoping to save some insurance money this winter by using this instead of the Ford Escape, but I'm going to have to use this and the Ford Escape because this is not going to be the winter car for me. Because remember, guys, this car also has a problem, which is that lithium-ion batteries suck in cold weather. So I can expect even less range when it's below freezing outside. Actually, I did this morning. My range was 136 miles when I left the house. I was going 20 miles away for a project meeting. It was 31 degrees, and when I got there, I had burned through 30% of my battery life, which is why I had to stop in Bedford, New Hampshire to charge the thing up. All right, get back in the car. We're getting there, though. We got about 15 minutes remaining, and we're back on our way. All is good, man. It's fine. It's all good. All right, guys. Thanks. Like I said, I'm back at Whole Foods. I had to, I went 21 miles and down to 93 miles left. So, rode 20 miles and need 11 minutes of charging from the high-speed 50 kilowatt charger. This is not a car for road trips. It's not, guys. It's just not.